This video about to buy slide belts. Up your build game with 20% off using code FILMENTO.
The target is an unsanctioned uranium enrichment plant built in violation of...
Wait, so that's it. There's no real villain here. Oh my god, what an L. I guess I'm just not gonna care.
9 missiles! Switching to guns! You can do this! Come on, Miss, come on!
Over 30 years after the original movie, Tom Cruise's Maverick returns to the Top Gun Flight Academy to train a younger generation of pilots for a mission that is very much impossible. The result of which is an incredibly cinematic thrill ride full of speed and danger and shirtless men that was made to be experienced in the biggest screen you could find. But I guess I don't have to tell you that, because audiences all around the world have spoken for themselves. As much as they like to go see dinosaurs and superheroes and tiny yellow men, none of those compare to the true powerhouse of cinema, the one and only TC. See, as you may have heard, Top Gun Maverick is a success story of the ages. Not only did it cross $1 billion in a year where not even the MCU could, it also made more money than Morbius itself. I mean, not even Paramount being Paramount could stop Top Gun Maverick from taking them to the very top.
Great success!
And the weirdest thing about all that is that, as cool as this movie may look, it's kind of missing one of the most crucial cornerstones of all movies: a villain. The thing that creates the challenge, the pushback, the conflict, the drama. You know, the stuff that makes movies movies instead of an empty sandbox with nothing there. Look at the big ending trench run finale, for example, that is basically Star Wars, in that Maverick is leading his fighter squadron into the heart of the evil Empire to destroy their dangerous Death Star by hitting its weak point.
Use the Force.
I'm dropping blind!
While also being chased by Darth Vader.
I have you now.
Oh wait, none of those villain components exist. No Empire, no Death Star, no Vader. Instead, there's a nameless rogue nation that exists briefly on a monitor. There's a hole in the ground in the middle of nowhere. There's a random guy in a plane. Not exactly a proper villain. And yet, despite that unfilled villain hole, this movie still from beginning to end manages to function just fine by finding other ways of creating all that conflict and drama and so on that the villain usually brings. So today, our mission will be to figure out some of the key ways it does that. Not necessarily to say you shouldn't include a villain, because only the chosen few can pull that off, but more so to identify things you can do in addition to your villain to make things even better. So here's how to make a movie without a villain in addition to your villain. One villain substitute here is a momentary antagonistic force that pushes against the hero's actions in individual sections to create a sense of challenge and accomplishment for those sections. Take for example the opening, where Maverick is working as a test pilot on this new version of the SR-71 Blackbird. This section is important to establish him as a character, that he is willing to push boundaries with no regard for his life, that is almost as much of a fearless thrill seeker as Tom Cruise.
Just a little more.
No! Stop there!
Just a little.
Your dreams! Come true! Just stop!
Maverick.
But it's not like Maverick just shows up to fly and then goes to fly. That would be missing the larger point for any of this to exist. Instead, the movie introduces an antagonistic force in form of high-ranking officer Ed Harris, who wants to shut down this program and use the funds for his own unmanned drone program. And just like that, there's a point.
They say we fell short. The contract threshold is Mach 10.
Says who?
Admiral Kane. He's on his way to kill the test and shut us down personally.
Oh, he isn't here yet. Let's give him Mach 10.
Right, so now the section isn't just Maverick cruising in the air for kicks, but more so about him having to push through this antagonistic force pushing against him by reaching a certain speed, and this way justifying the existence of the program along with everyone's job on it. There's no real villain per se. Maverick doesn't end up fighting this guy's drone army in the finale, but there's enough to fill this individual section with a sense of purposeful accomplishment.
All you did was buy some time for those men out there. The future is coming.
But not today.
Same thing in the Academy section, where Maverick gets called in to teach a batch of younger pilots to accomplish this mission of destroying a hostile nation's WMD. Immediately, the movie introduces a new momentary antagonistic force in form of Academy Commander John Hamm, who not only doesn't like what Maverick stands for, but also doesn't even want him there.
You are not my first choice. In fact, you weren't even on a list.
And so now, this training section isn't just a training section, but more so about Maverick having to constantly push against its opposite force to justify and make possible the necessary training. He has to unlock training perimeters that the mission requires.
Hard deck is 5,000 feet above ground level.
It's a request to lower the hard deck, sir.
He has to explain why he's making pilots take time off together.
Detachment still has some training to complete, Captain.
You said to create a team. Sir, there's your team.
And when John Hamm ultimately tosses away Maverick's impossible plan in favor of an easier one that will sacrifice pilot lives to ensure mission success, Maverick has to go rogue and prove that his impossible life-saving plan is indeed possible.
Setting time to target, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Fire attack point.
Again, this section isn't just them spending time training. You can't really show the training to be completed anyway because that would take away from the finale. And it's also not about a full-on villain either, where Maverick would have to dogfight John Hamm for the lives of these pilots. No, it's about Maverick having to constantly push his way through this opposing force in order to earn a chance to save the lives of these young pilots. And when he finally earns that chance in a way that concludes the section, there's your sense of progression and accomplishment for the section right there.
Bullseye, holy sh!
By appointing you team leader.
Even the finale section isn't so much about any real build-up villain as it is about a collection of antagonistic elements. The trench run isn't about the enemy we're facing, but more so the pressure created by time. The bombing run isn't about the target we're hitting, but more so the terrain we've trained for. The one-on-one dogfight with the 5th generation fighter jet isn't about the fighter in a jet, but more so about the jet being a physical manifestation of the movie's central point.
He's still on us!
The future is coming, and you're not here.
Seems like we're not the only ones holding on to old relics.
We took a hit! Damn it! F-14 against 5th gen fighters.
Exactly, it's about fighting for the old school belief that it's not the machine, but rather the pilot flying the machine. All this quote-unquote villain stuff, they're just placeholders. They could be literally anything.
They could even be enemy drones.
We don't care about defeating the nameless hostile pilot. What we care about is pushing through this opposing antagonistic element in the way.
It's not the plane, it's the pilot. Yes! Splash 2!
The point I'm making here isn't to make a movie without a villain, but rather that when you have sections not influenced by the villain, then you should consider creating a more momentary force to oppose the hero instead. Another villain substitute here is an unresolved problem in key relationships to maintain a constant sense of conflict and drama. The less obvious example of this is Maverick's relationship with this local bar owner, Penny. When the two of them have a surprise meeting in the bar, it quickly becomes apparent that not only do they have history, it's not exactly the good kind. Things might seem fine on the surface, but on a deeper subtext level, you can feel that something's off.
Are you mad at me?
Oh, Pete.
Yes.
You know, she's constantly alluding to Maverick just coming and going. She makes him buy around for everyone there for a mistake, even though she could have cut him some slack as a friend. And at the end, she even chooses to publicly humiliate him just because he can't pay all that money right now.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Again, it might seem like cute fun and games, but the further we go and the closer she allows herself to get to him once more, it becomes very clear that it's not.
It always ends the same with us, Pete. Let's not start this time.
Just don't break her heart again.
Yeah, so the unresolved issue in this relationship is the fact that instead of sticking by Penny, Maverick has always left her to go ride his jets instead, which has left her hurt. And so now, this relationship isn't just about casual fun hanging out for a certain amount of time. No, there's an underlying source of conflict and drama that requires fixing. Maverick promises that this time it's different, that he won't leave.
We'll see.
No, I mean it. I'm never gonna leave you again.
But once more, his good intentions are put to the exact same test when he chooses to set his own life on the line for his pilots. He's going away and he might not come back, just as he pulled her close enough once again to care. And when he ultimately does keep his word and returns to be with her unlike ever before, the conflict in the relationship is resolved. The relationship isn't about overcoming any big villain, but rather about fixing the issue in the relationship, which is perhaps just as satisfying to watch. The more obvious, more hostile example of this is Maverick's relationship with one of the young pilots, Rooster. Again, the conflict in this relationship doesn't come from them overcoming some big villain, because there is no villain. No, the relationship itself is what needs overcoming.
Bradley Bradshaw, aka Rooster.
Is there a problem, Captain?
You know there is.
Essentially, Rooster's dad, Goose, was Maverick's partner in the first movie where he tragically died while Maverick was flying. And on top of that, the consequences of that tragedy led to Maverick pulling Rooster's Navy application, which set him back years. All of which gives Rooster plenty of reason to hate Maverick, and Maverick plenty of reason to feel ill around Rooster. And thanks to that unresolved issue in this relationship, the scenes that the relationship exists in become much more than what they otherwise would be. Their conversation scenes are a major challenge because they just can't conversate.
Rooster, Bradley, Lieutenant Bradshaw.
Am I dismissed?
Their aerial training scenes are full of emotional drama because it's not about just the aerial training.
How low you want to go, Rooster? I can go as low as you, sir.
Even though these two aren't confronting any big villain, their scenes are still filled with confrontation.
Why did you stand in my way?
And in the finale, the relationship becomes all about fixing that unresolved issue. Maverick ultimately choosing to trust Rooster, Rooster turning back for Maverick to prove how much he actually cares about him. Both of them working in unison to rise up to meet this challenge, just like Maverick once did with Rooster's dad. And when these two finally defeat the problem between them by defeating the external threat ahead of them, it can feel very satisfying.
Yeah, man! Splash one! Splash one! Smoke in the air! Smoke in the air! Hang on! Rooster flares! No, no, no! Oh, you just talk to me, Rooster! Where is he? Here he comes! Brace yourself! One last chance. You can do this! Yes! Splash two!
Once again, the point isn't to not include a villain for a relationship to overcome, but more so to also add some kind of unresolved issue in the relationship that requires as much overcoming as the villain. It can be something big, or it can be something smaller, from conflicting beliefs of how things should be done to the lack of mutual respect. What matters is that scenes have drama and conflict even when the villain isn't in them with the heroes to create it. The third villain substitute here is a skeleton in the internal closet that makes it much more difficult for the hero to complete the external journey they're on. So like I mentioned, the internal struggle that shadows Maverick from the beginning is the fact that he was in the pilot seat when Goose lost his life. The fallout of that tragedy still holds a harmful effect on everything he does. He has no regard for his own safety because it's just him. He doesn't see himself as a viable teacher because he's a solo act and he can't trust himself with others. He can't forgive himself because he can't even imagine others forgiving him. Essentially, this internal skeleton trauma that Maverick carries is so strong that whenever it comes up, it yanks him back like a shot from a high-powered rifle.
You're all dismissed.
God, I love flying with you, Maverick.
And there's two sides to why this internal skeleton is important. Firstly, this is how you mine emotion. When we see Maverick be hurt by the memory of Goose and how it all ended, and then see other characters realize he's hurting, that's emotion right there. When we see Maverick question his ability to help anyone so badly that he doesn't even want to try to help at all.
Don't ask me to send someone else to die, please. Don't ask me to send him. Send me. I'm not a teacher, Ice.
That's emotion right there. As cruel as it sounds, we need to see characters at their lowest to be able to appreciate the climb that they make. And so secondly, that internal climb is what makes the external journey more than what it is by itself. It's very powerful when Maverick pushes himself on the simulation track more than he has ever before. But what's really powerful is that he's now doing it just to get a chance to help these young pilots survive what's to come.
Bullseye, holy
Damn.
It's very powerful when Maverick leads these young pilots head-on into the fray in the finale. But what's really powerful is that the whole finale at the same time is about him overcoming his internal trauma. He accepts that Rooster's choice to embrace danger as a fighter pilot is his own, just like it was his dad's. He learns to trust other pilots to overcome their own challenges instead of micromanaging everything. He sacrifices himself for Rooster in a way that finally allows him to redeem himself from not being able to save Goose. I mean, the movie begins with Maverick wanting someone there there to talk to.
Talk to me, Goose.
And at the end, that's exactly what he finally allows himself to have.
Talk to me, Rooster! Where is he?
Just like the entire movie, the finale isn't only about overcoming these external hurdles, but also the internal hurdles that have been holding us back all this time, which increases the overall sense of difficulty and reward.
Against 5th Gen fighters? You'd go after him if I wasn't here.
But you are here.
Come on, Mav. Just do.
The point is that in addition to your movie's external journey, which usually should involve a villain, give your hero an internal skeleton to battle at the same time. It can be as big as the shadow of Goose looming over Maverick, or it can be as small as Rooster's character weakness of overthinking everything in the air.
Yeah, you got it. Don't think, just do. Come on, Rooster, you got him. Drop down and take the shot. Too late. You had your chance. That's a kill. Damn it.
Just something to elevate the external side into being more than what it already is.
Get online! There's no time. I'm dropping blinds. Rooster, I got this. I got this. Push away. Bombs away. Bombs away.
Once again, I'm not saying to skip the external side or skip the villain, but I am saying that just like Top Gun Maverick proves, there are other things you can use to patch up holes where they appear and to give your movie an extra boost, much like an afterburner on one of those cars in Fast and Furious. But then again, all that pretentious writing stuff aside, if you wanna be successful and want it like Top Gun Maverick, I guess the only thing you really need is Tom Cruise. Or if you can't get that, then at least get as close as you can. Get the cool glasses and the cool jacket and what most people usually forget, the cool belt. See, like Tom and I were just discussing, you shouldn't have to wear an SB, a stupid belt. You shouldn't have to go out overly tight and full of holes. Like, what is that? Like, Tom, what do you think about this, about SBs?
An SP?
Yeah, so what you want is more advanced engineering, a belt that has no holes and instead uses this ratchet system for easy and precise tightening. Just buy a belt of any size and cut it down to your liking and then slide it on. That's it. This is much better and everyone should be able to have this instead of...
What a beautiful thing, because maybe one day it'll be like that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wow, SPs, like they'll just read about those in the history books, you know?
And so what you want is light belts, the better kind of SB. All their belts are high quality leather or canvas. All their belts use this ingenious technology. And for all the TCs out there, they even have a special survival belt with built-in gadgets from knives to matches to survive behind enemy lines. They're sponsoring a 20% discount with code FILMENTO, so up your belt game like us with the link below.
It's like, man, you're either in or you're out.